What if I told you that right now, as you're watching this video, there are three invisible forces working against your success? They're not external circumstances. They're not other people, and they're definitely not bad luck. These three enemies live inside your mind, and they've been sabotaging your potential since the day you started dreaming big. But here's the powerful truth. Once you identify these enemies and understand how they operate, you gain the power to defeat them. Think about this for a moment. You've probably set goals before. You've probably had dreams that excited you, plans that seemed foolproof, and moments where you felt absolutely certain you were going to make it happen. But somewhere along the way, something went wrong. Maybe you started strong but gradually lost momentum. Maybe you found yourself procrastinating on important tasks. Maybe you convinced yourself that your goals weren't realistic after all. What happened wasn't a lack of talent, opportunity, or resources. What happened was that these three enemies launched a coordinated attack on your success, and you didn't even know you were under siege. Today, we're going to expose these success killers and give you the weapons you need to fight back. We're going to dive deep into their psychology, understand their strategies, and most importantly, develop a battle plan that will help you overcome what's been holding you back for years. By the end of this video, you'll not only know who your real enemies are, but you'll have a clear roadmap to victory. This isn't just theory. This is practical warfare for your success. Let's dive in. The first enemy of your success is your comfort zone, and this adversary is far more sophisticated than most people realize. This isn't just about being lazy or avoiding challenges. It's about the psychological prison we build around ourselves with familiar routines, predictable outcomes, and the illusion of safety. Your comfort zone feels like home, but it's actually the most dangerous place you can live when it comes to achieving your dreams. Let me paint you a picture of how this enemy operates. Every morning you wake up and follow the same routine. You take the same road to work, interact with the same people, tackle the same type of challenges, and return home to the same evening activities. There's nothing inherently wrong with routine, but when routine becomes a cage that prevents growth, it transforms from a helpful structure into a success killer. Your comfort zone is like a thermostat in your mind. Just as a thermostat maintains a consistent temperature by kicking on the heat when it gets too cold, and the air conditioning when it gets too hot, your psychological comfort zone works to maintain a consistent level of challenge, risk, and uncertainty in your life. When you start to push beyond your current limits, when you begin to experience the discomfort that comes with growth, this internal thermostat kicks in and tries to bring you back to your familiar baseline. Think about it this way. Every single successful person you admire had to leave their comfort zone to get where they are. Oprah Winfrey had to overcome her fear of public speaking and the comfort of anonymity. Steve Jobs had to leave the security of a steady paycheck to start Apple in a garage. J.K. Rowling had to face the discomfort of rejection after rejection before Harry Potter was finally published. They had to have uncomfortable conversations, take calculated risks, learn new skills that felt foreign at first, and face the very real possibility of failure. But here's what makes the comfort zone such a formidable enemy. It doesn't attack you with obvious threats. Instead, it whispers sweet lies that sound reasonable, even wise. It tells you that tomorrow is a better day to start that business. It convinces you that you need just a little more experience before you apply for that promotion. It suggests that you should wait until you have more money saved, more connections made, or more knowledge acquired before you take that leap. The comfort zone is a master of disguise. It presents procrastination as prudence, fear as wisdom, and stagnation as stability. It makes you believe that staying where you are is the smart choice, the safe choice, the responsible choice. But here's what your comfort zone doesn't want you to know: safety is largely an illusion. And the biggest risk you can take is not taking any risks at all. In today's rapidly changing world, standing still is actually moving backward. The skills that got you to where you are today won't necessarily get you to where you want to be tomorrow. The job that feels secure today might not exist in 5 years. The comfort zone that feels safe today might become a trap that prevents you from adapting to future changes. The most successful people have learned to interpret discomfort as a compass pointing toward their next level. When they feel that anxiety, that uncertainty, that voice telling them to turn back, they've trained themselves to recognize it as a signal that they're heading in the right direction. They understand that growth only happens in the discomfort zone, in that space between where you are and where you want to be. So how do you defeat this enemy? The antidote to the comfort zone is what I call intentional discomfort. This doesn't mean making reckless decisions or jumping off cliffs without a parachute. It means systematically and strategically expanding your comfort zone through deliberate actions that stretch your capabilities and confidence. Start small but be consistent. Every single day, take one action that makes you slightly uncomfortable. If you're naturally introverted, strike up a conversation with a stranger. If you're afraid of rejection, ask for something you want but don't expect to get. If you're intimidated by technology, learn a new digital skill. If you've been playing it safe in your career, apply for that job you think you're not quite qualified for. Each time you choose discomfort over comfort, you're not just accomplishing a task, you're rewiring your brain. You're teaching your nervous system that discomfort doesn't equal danger. You're proving to yourself that you can handle more than you thought you could. You're expanding your comfort zone 1 degree at a time, until what once felt impossible now feels inevitable. Remember, comfortable people rarely make history. Your dreams are waiting for you on the other side of your comfort zone, but they'll wait there forever unless you decide to make the journey. Perfectionism. The second enemy is perfectionism, and this one is particularly sneaky because it disguises itself as a virtue. In our achievement-oriented society, perfectionism is often praised and rewarded. We celebrate the perfectionist student, the perfectionist employee, the perfectionist parent. But what we're actually celebrating is often a sophisticated form of self-sabotage that masquerades as excellence. Perfectionism tells you that you need to have everything figured out before you start. It convinces you that your business plan needs to be airtight. Your product needs to be flawless, your presentation needs to be seamless, and your strategy needs to account for every possible scenario before you can take your first step. It whispers that your work isn't good enough, your ideas aren't refined enough, and you need just a little more time to get it right. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Perfectionism isn't about excellence at all. It's about fear. It's fear of judgment, fear of criticism, fear of failure, and ultimately, fear of not being good enough. Perfectionism is procrastination in a 3-piece suit. It's resistance wearing the mask of high standards. Keeps you stuck in the planning phase forever, researching endlessly, tweaking incessantly, waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. Let me tell you what perfectionism really costs you. While you're perfecting your business plan, someone else with a good enough plan is already in the market, learning from real customers and iterating based on actual feedback. While you're waiting for the perfect moment to start your fitness journey, months and years pass by and your health continues to decline. While you're crafting the perfect resume, the job you want gets filled by someone who applied with a good resume and great enthusiasm. Perfectionism creates what I call analysis paralysis. You become so focused on getting everything right that you never get anything done. You spend more time thinking about doing than actually doing. You become an expert in preparation but a novice in execution. And here's the cruel irony. The perfectionist's work is often less effective than the work of someone who embraces good enough, because perfectionism prevents you from getting the real world feedback necessary for genuine improvement. Think about the most successful companies and products in the world. Facebook didn't launch as the sophisticated social media platform it is today. It started as a simple college directory called the Facebook that was limited to Harvard students. The first version was basic, had bugs, and was missing most of the features we now consider essential. But Mark Zuckerberg didn't wait for perfection. He launched, learned from user behavior, and improved iteratively. Google's first homepage was bare bones compared to what it is today. Amazon started by selling books from Jeff Bezos's garage, with a far cry from the sophisticated e-commerce ecosystem it has become. The iPhone wasn't perfect when it launched. It couldn't even copy and paste text. But these companies understood a fundamental principle that perfectionism tries to hide from you. You can't steer a parked car. The most successful people aren't the ones who wait for perfection. They're the ones who understand that perfection is achieved through iteration, not through endless preparation. They start before they're ready, learn as they go, and improve through action rather than through analysis. They know that version 1.0 doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough to get feedback that will make version 2.0 better. Here's another way perfectionism sabotages your success. It creates impossible standards that guarantee failure. When you demand perfection from yourself, you're setting a goal that, by definition, cannot be achieved. This sets you up for a cycle of disappointment, self-criticism, and eventual giving up. The perfectionist starts strong, encounters the inevitable imperfections that come with any endeavor, judges these imperfections as failures, and quits rather than continuing with something that's less than perfect. The cure for perfectionism is embracing what I call good enough to go. This doesn't mean lowering your standards or accepting mediocrity. It means understanding the difference between excellence and perfection. Excellence is about doing your best with the resources, knowledge, and time you have available. Perfection is about achieving an impossible standard that doesn't exist in the real world. Set a standard of excellence, not perfection. Aim for progress, not perfection. Launch that website when it's 80% ready rather than waiting for 100%. Submit that application when it's good rather than when it's perfect. Start that business when you have a solid foundation rather than when every detail is figured out. Here's a practical exercise to overcome perfectionism. Give yourself deadlines and honor them regardless of whether your work feels perfect. If you're writing a report, give yourself 1 week and submit it when the week is up, even if you could spend another month polishing it. If you're launching a product, set a launch date and stick to it, even if there are features you wish you could add. Remember, done is better than perfect because done creates results, generates feedback, and provides learning opportunities. Perfect never happens because it's a moving target that retreats every time you think you're getting close. Inom för the negative self-doubt, the third and perhaps most destructive enemy is negative self-talk. And this adversary lives inside your head 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the internal voice that constantly criticizes, doubts, and undermines your efforts. It's the voice that says, "You're not smart enough. You don't have what it takes. People like you don't succeed. You should just be grateful for what you have." Or, "Who do you think you are to want more?" This enemy is particularly dangerous because it operates in the shadows of your consciousness. Most people don't even realize how destructive their internal dialogue has become. You would never let a friend speak to you the way you speak to yourself. You would never hire an employee who constantly told you why your business would fail, why your ideas were stupid, or why you weren't capable of success. Yet you allow this voice to be your constant companion, your internal advisor, your decision-making partner. Let me give you some examples of how this enemy operates. You have an idea for a business, and immediately the voice says, "That's been done before. What makes you think you could do it better?" You consider applying for a promotion, and the voice whispers, "You're not qualified enough." They'll see right through you. You think about starting a fitness routine, and the voice chimes in with, "You've tried this before and failed. Why would this time be any different?" This internal critic is like having a toxic roommate in your head who never pays rent but constantly brings you down. It takes your dreams and pokes holes in them. It takes your confidence and systematically erodes it. It takes your motivation and suffocates it with doubt and fear. But here's what makes negative self-talk so insidious: it often contains just enough truth to seem credible. Yes, that business idea has been done before, but that doesn't mean you can't do it better or differently. Yes, you might not have every qualification for that promotion, but qualifications can be learned, and potential often matters more than perfection. Yes, you have tried and failed before, but every failure is data that makes your next attempt more likely to succeed. Negative self-talk becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you constantly tell yourself you can't do something, you unconsciously look for evidence to support that belief. You sabotage your efforts by not giving them your full energy. You quit at the first sign of difficulty because, deep down, you expected to fail anyway. You don't take risks because you've already convinced yourself they won't work out. This creates what psychologists call a confirmation bias. You notice and remember information that confirms what you already believe while ignoring or forgetting information that contradicts it. If you believe you're not good at public speaking, you'll focus on every stumble, every every moment of nervousness, while completely overlooking the parts of your presentation that went well, the audience members who nodded in agreement, or the positive feedback you received afterward. The origins of negative self-talk often trace back to childhood experiences, past failures, criticism from others, or societal messages about what's possible for people like you. Maybe a teacher told you that you weren't good at math, and you've carried that limiting belief into adulthood. Maybe you grew up in an environment where dreams were seen as impractical and you were taught to be realistic. Maybe you experienced a significant failure that left you doubting your capabilities. But here's what you need to understand: you are not your thoughts. You are not that critical voice in your head. You are the observer of your thoughts. The consciousness that can choose which thoughts to believe and which thoughts to dismiss. That negative voice isn't you. It's just old programming from past experiences, other people's opinions that you internalized, and your brain's primitive survival system trying to keep you safe by avoiding anything that might involve risk or rejection. Your brain is designed to keep you alive, not to make you successful. From an evolutionary perspective, taking risks, standing out, or attempting something new could potentially threaten your survival. So your brain's default setting is to talk you out of anything that feels uncertain or challenging. It's trying to protect you, but in our modern world, this protection has become a prison. The solution is to become the CEO of your mind. Just as a CEO wouldn't let a toxic employee remain in their company, you can't let toxic thoughts remain unchallenged in your mind. You need to start monitoring yourself. Talk like a security guard at the entrance of an exclusive building. When negative thoughts try to enter, you check their credentials and decide whether they deserve access to your mental space. Here's a practical system for managing negative self-talk. First, become aware of it. Most negative self-talk happens automatically below the level of conscious awareness. Start paying attention to your internal dialogue, especially during challenging moments. What does that voice say when you're about to take a risk, face a challenge, or try something new? Second, question it. When you catch yourself engaging in negative self-talk, pause and ask, Is this thought serving me? Is it helping me get closer to my goals? Is it based on facts or fears? Would I say this to a good friend who was in my situation? Most of the time, you'll discover that your negative self-talk is neither helpful nor accurate. Third, replace it. You can't just delete negative thoughts. You need to consciously replace them with more empowering alternatives. Instead of, I can't do this, try, I'm learning how to do this. Instead of, I always mess up, try, I'm getting better with each attempt. Instead of, I'm not good enough, try, I'm exactly where I need to be, and I'm growing every day. Fourth, find evidence for your new, empowering thoughts. Your brain will resist positive self-talk if it seems completely unrealistic. So gather evidence that supports your new internal dialogue. Keep a success journal where you record your wins, no matter how small. Document your progress, your improvements, your moments of courage. This creates a library of evidence that your empowering thoughts are based on reality, not just wishful thinking. Finally, practice patience with yourself. Changing decades of negative self-talk doesn't happen overnight. It's like retraining a muscle that's been moving in the wrong direction for years. Be patient with the process. Celebrate small victories. And remember that every time you choose an empowering thought over a limiting one, you're rewiring your brain for success. Khan el-Yusam, we've covered a lot of ground today, but I want to leave you with the most important truth of all. These three enemies, your comfort zone, perfectionism, and negative self-talk, have been holding you back for far too long, but they only have the power you give them. Your comfort zone loses its grip when you consistently choose growth over comfort, when you deliberately seek out experiences that stretch your capabilities and expand your sense of what's possible. Remember, growth doesn't happen in the comfortable, familiar spaces of your life. It happens in the uncertain, challenging spaces where you're forced to become more than you were yesterday. Perfectionism crumbles when you choose progress over perfection, when you understand that done is better than perfect, and when you embrace the power of iteration over the paralysis of preparation. The most successful people in the world aren't the ones who wait for perfect conditions. They're the ones who start before they're ready and improve as they go. And negative self-talk is defeated when you choose empowering thoughts over limiting beliefs, when you become the CEO of your mind instead of a victim of your thoughts, and when you realize that you have the power to choose what voice gets to influence your decisions. These enemies are strong, and they've had years or even decades to establish their influence in your life. But you are stronger. They've been running your life from the shadows, making decisions for you, keeping you small, and convincing you to settle for less than you deserve. But now you're bringing them into the light. Now you know their names, you understand their tactics, and you have the weapons to fight back. Success isn't about being perfect or having it all figured out. It's not about never feeling afraid or uncertain. It's about identifying what's holding you back and having the courage to face it head on. It's about taking action in spite of fear, making progress in spite of imperfection, and believing in yourself in spite of doubt. Your success story starts the moment you decide that your dreams are worth fighting for. It starts when you realize that these internal enemies have no real power over you except what you give them. The battlefield is your mind, and today is the day you win the war. Every successful person who has ever lived has faced these same three enemies. The entrepreneurs who built the companies you admire, the leaders who changed the world, the artists who created the works that move you, the athletes who broke the records everyone thought were unbreakable. They all had to face their comfort zone, their perfectionism, and their negative self-talk. The difference between them and everyone else isn't that they didn't have these enemies. It's that they chose to fight rather than surrender. They chose action over comfort, understanding that temporary discomfort leads to permanent improvement. They chose progress over perfection, knowing that imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single time. They chose empowering thoughts over limiting beliefs, recognizing that what you think about yourself becomes what you believe about yourself, which becomes what's possible for your life. The question isn't whether you'll face these enemies, you will. They're part of the human experience, part of the price we pay for having big dreams and ambitious goals. The question is, will you let them win, or will you rise up and claim the success that's rightfully yours? Will you let your comfort zone convince you to play small for the rest of your life? Or will you expand it day by day until what once felt impossible now feels inevitable? Will you let perfectionism keep you stuck in the planning phase forever? Or will you embrace the power of imperfect action and iterative improvement? Will you let negative self-talk write the story of your life? Or will you take back the pen and become the author of your own success? The choice is yours and the time is now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions are perfect or when you feel more confident or when the stars align. Now, today, this moment, because every moment you wait is a moment these enemies get stronger, and every moment you act is a moment you get stronger. Your dreams have been patient, waiting for you to develop the courage to pursue them. Your potential has been dormant, waiting for you to create the conditions for it to flourish. Your success story has been unwritten, waiting for you to pick up the pen and start writing. But they can't wait forever. At some point, you have to decide that the life you're living is either enough or it isn't. You have to decide that the person you are today is either who you want to be forever or just a stepping stone to who you're becoming. You have to decide that your dreams either matter enough to fight for or they don't. I believe they do matter. I believe you have something unique and valuable to offer the world. I believe you're capable of more than you've shown so far. I believe your best days are ahead of you, not behind you. But believing in you isn't enough. You have to believe in you too. If this video has opened your eyes to what's been holding you back, if it's helped you identify the enemies that have been sabotaging your success, if it's given you hope that change is possible and a roadmap for making it happen, then hit that like button and subscribe for more content that will transform your mindset and accelerate your success. Share this with someone who needs to hear this message today, someone who's been stuck, someone who's been playing small, someone who's been letting these enemies run their life. Because sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is help someone else see what's possible for their life. And remember, your success story is waiting to be written. Stop letting these enemies hold the pen. Take it back. Start writing. Start today. Start now. Your future self is counting on the decisions you make in this moment. Don't let them down. The war for your success begins now, and you're going to win.